Welcome back to another episode of. Well, actually, we're probably gonna just spin this off and make it your own, right?
No,
Come on, we
no,
can do the Brent Wright
no,
podcast for
no,
sure.
no, no. This is
Well,
yours.
whatever. We'll do Loanology. That's fine. We're gonna do another episode here with the one and only Brent Wright. We got him in the building here today.
Cool. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Actually, we're in your building today, so
Yeah, yeah, we are conference room.
absolutely. So, yeah, we hit it off so well last time that we definitely wanted to do another one here with you. And before we jumped online, we were talking about commercial real estate and all of the woes that you think are coming up here on that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, going back to 2020, I went down a rabbit hole. You know, when the world shut down.
Oh yeah,
Group of investors and I were talking, and it's all starting to play out what I said back then. And I told my buddies, I was like, man, I was like, if offices can stay within 5 to 10% productivity in either direction, I was like, every city's in trouble. And they're
yeah,
like, what? And I'm like, well, office space, man. I was like, thinking as like an entrepreneur, kind of more of a business owner kind of mindset. I'm like, if I don't have to pay $100,000 on a triple net lease,
right,
the property taxes, the insurance, the liability, the utilities, every time you flush the toilet, every time your internet, your desk space, maybe a sexual harassment thing, maybe somebody says something, whatever. I don't have to deal with any of that and let you work from home.
yeah.
100% I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah. Well,
You
we were
know?
even talking about that too right after we filmed the last episode. That I think you said some companies like actually paid their employees, like gave them extra money, like, hey, go move somewhere
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah. I think it was in August of 20, I read an article. I think the company was Spectra out of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they were reducing everybody's pay slightly, but they said you can move anywhere in the country. And we're giving you, I think it was 20 or 25,000 to move
Yeah.
out of San Fran.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's just making the world smaller. But, when you have commercial space that's at double digit vacancies that it's never been at in these major cities, and you're getting to a point where you're no longer increasing rent at 2-3% annual basis.
Mhm.
Instead, you're hoping to stay firm,
Right.
if not reduce. And most of these loans are in 5-year balloons.
Right.
So year 5's coming up.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So,
And new commercial rates are not what old commercial rates used to be.
oh, it's brutal right
Yeah.
now. Yeah. I mean, well, because you got to think, like, you got to take the Fed's fund rate plus, or some lenders will use like the 5-year plus 2.5 or whatever. So you're at like 8% versus 4.
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to affect everybody, like really, because the ripple effect, right? Like the housing recession turned out to be this massive recession, but it didn't need to be as bad as it truly was.
Right.
But once people stop spending, they stop doing this, like it affects everything going down. And, less and less people working in the offices. They're not going out to eat at the local diner. They're not
Right.
grabbing coffee, or drink after work. Like, so all these businesses are feeling it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you and I were talking about that too, like, especially coffee shops, drinks after work, food, and all that stuff. If you have less people working in the office downtown, you're going to have less businesses downtown because no one's out there. Right.
Yep.
And then you even had some crazy thoughts about like what's going to happen maybe 20, 30 years from now to every major city. If you want to share that or no.
I'm kind of more of a doomsday
Yeah,
kind of guy.
exactly.
Like when it comes to the cities, like I really don't think they're going to be a place anybody wants to be at. I see the growth and the development coming. It just makes sense, right? Like
Right.
every generation, really, if you think about it, like we're kind of the tech gen, right?
Right.
Like Nintendo came out, like things like that. Oh my gosh, a computer in school, like I remember in elementary school there was one computer there.
Yeah.
The Amazon Trail was amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
But now, like, look at like the next generation. They know nothing but electronics, and like my kids are in school right now, elementary school, and half of the stuff that they do is on a tablet or iPad or Chromebook. So every generation is more tech savvy. So it's just going to make sense. Like, why have all the overhead? Maybe set up some training facilities, like light industrial. Like if I owned that big office in Chicago, the way I do it is get rid of it. I'd have people work from home.
Yep.
And I'd set up a northwest and kind of southeast side location.
Yep.
Probably a light industrial building, minimal expense, and making training facilities.
Yeah. Or even like it depending on the industry that you're in, but like for us being in real estate and loans, like if I was running a region of loan officers and branches,
right,
I would probably go like if I had a region, it'd probably be like Cincinnati, Indy, Chicago, right? Like all major cities, like kind of in line with each other, and I'd most likely have like a WeWork subscription in Indy.
right,
and for any trainings, people would just go to Indy because it's about halfway, and we just rent out the WeWork, conference room.
right.
That's probably what we would do. Like if we had to do something in person, and then you get a hotel that night, you go out to eat that night, but it's maybe twice a year, three or four times a year, once a quarter, maybe.
Right.
Everything else can be done on Zoom.
Right. And that's where it's just going to get more common and more common.
Yeah.
Like the way tech is going in AI and everything, I mean, it won't surprise me if in 10 years, how they have like the meta glasses and everything in the meta world.
Yeah.
You'll just throw on a pair of glasses and be in an office with a bunch of people right next to you.
Isn't that what EXP was trying to do?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw an article about that where like EXP had like a virtual office and you could throw your glasses on and be with everybody there.
So I don't know that. I know they have like a virtual office, like you can talk to like a manager or something, or do something. They have like a virtual world
because it looks like The Sims.
Yeah,
like from what I saw,
Yeah. So it's kind of neat. I don't know that much about it.
Sure.
So
yeah.
But yeah, what I do know, it looked kind of cool.
Okay. So, yeah. No, definitely. I like that. Well, and I think too, like, a lot of cities are going to have to really compete for people to stay in, and not just like big cities like Chicago, but just cities in general, right?
Right.
So, the mass appeal that a lot of rural places in Indiana have is, hey, just get some Wi-Fi over there. Like, make sure you're well connected. That way you're on the grid. And then, anybody can work from home, essentially, at most jobs at this point. And cool, you want to have a cheap cost of living, like just move here, right?
Right.
Or like, I think places like Florida, Texas, they've blown up over the last couple of years. And I think that they're still going to blow up. Because like I would love to move to Florida and just work and then, walk out to, the restaurant on the patio and sip some wine in the afternoon and just call it a day in December,
Right.
It'd be great.
That would be nice. I think walkability, like a lot of these towns, because like locally, if you think about it, like Crown Point's got the square,
right.
Valpo's got like their downtown area that's really blowing up. A lot of towns, like even like East Chicago, Hammond, are starting to create like these more walkability neighborhoods because that's kind of the direction. A lot of the people in the cities, it's not that they necessarily need to live in this big, huge city, right? They go there because of opportunity, and then they get accustomed to walkability and not having a vehicle. So I think that's where like a lot of these towns need to just say, okay, well, let's start kind of making that shift.
Right.
Like, let's get a little more lenient on, commercial space and living space, smaller homes, smaller yards, maybe a walkable community.
Yeah.
So subdivision.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that too, as well. Like, you think that the direction that even new homes should be going in is, smaller homes in communities with a pool and a clubhouse, maybe a golf course. I don't know about that, but all these different amenities, right? Like,
I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, I've been saying forever. Actually, for years, I've been saying that, like, and I'm saying it, like, going back to 2015, I said the next housing issue is going to be based on interest rates because they were too low then. And that they really made a mess out of it by bringing the rates down to 2%.
Right.
It's just, the affordability goes down. And, like, it's just maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know, but out of my generation, like I know at least 40 people that I'm friends with that will never have kids.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need a big house.
Right.
They want to travel.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see the world.
Mm-hmm.
They want simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
They want to come home. They want to sleep, maybe entertain some friends and go do their thing. Go
Yeah.
work or go to the gym or whatever. And that's their life. So they don't need like these huge homes.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
I'd love one day, I was telling somebody, and I'd have to have a lot of money to do this. But I'd love to develop a subdivision to where like every corner was a small commercial building, like whether it was a 20 by 20 or 20 by 40. And like one could be a barber shop, one could be a beauty salon, one could be like a little like market, you know,
Yeah.
for basic essentials, whatever. But make it like kind of a walkable community. In the center, have an awesome clubhouse, swimming pool, indoor, outdoor tennis courts, basketball courts, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Because people want to have fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, and to your point too, I think that, a lot of, especially, our generation where, people aren't, like you said, they're not getting married, they're traveling more. They're more experience based than anything else, right? And so we don't need huge homes to, the most we need is, like in that scenario, would be a big enough backyard to have a dog. Like that's what most people do at this point.
Right.
So
No, you're right, man. I read an article a while back. Like even the size of the average mansion is going from like and this was a few years ago. The average used to be around 10,000 square feet. Now they're down to 6.
really,
Yeah, because people are just like, why? You know,
Yeah.
for the most part. And at some point, it's like, okay, I have
Right.
too much space.
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, like I feel that way too. When I moved into my place 2 years ago, I had it built with, and I was dating somebody at the time. So fortunately, I mean, I don't know if anyone's listening to this that knows me like that, but fortunately, like everything was in my name when that all was finished. But, we ended up splitting up, and I've been living there by myself ever since. So for about the last year and a half. And it's, the place that I'm in is like 2,400 square feet, but then there's also a basement. And
Yeah,
I'm like, this is like way too much space. Like, I don't really need all of this. There's rooms that I don't go into. Like, it's just, there's bathrooms that I don't use except for to like, like, it's like literally a guest bathroom. So if somebody comes over, like that bathroom is used, but outside of that, like it's never used, So yeah, no, I totally feel that. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I would like to downsize, but then I've ran the numbers multiple times. I'm like, I would downsize and pay the same amount per month
or more.
or more.
Cases.
I'm like,
yeah.
this is dumb.
Yeah, so you're gonna stay put, right?
Yeah.
Interest rates, but maybe one day you'll fill it up.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get it. When we built ours, we don't have a basement. And I, family of 5, 2 dogs, and we're like 3,700.
Yeah.
And we could honestly, like, if it were laid out different, we could easily be happy in like 24 to 25. Like, no,
Oh, yeah.
I would love to be back in like what I grew up in, like 1,200 and then a basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think mainly just because I'm at heart I'm a minimalist.
Yeah.
I hate the buying of random stuff.
Oh, dude, for sure. Like literally, so a funny story. I had a baby grand piano.
Okay.
I got it for free.
Okay.
From a realtor. Didn't know it was from this realtor at the time, which was funny. But yeah, so I saw a post on Facebook that this like junk removal person that I know was like, hey, getting rid of, someone wants us to take out this grand piano, and like I'd hate to like actually like throw it in the dump. Like, does anybody want it? And I was like, I got a U-Haul, I'm driving over there right now. Picked it up, moved it into my house. So I just have this grand piano. Don't even know how to play. It's not even tuned up yet, but I need to get it like fixed, right? But that's the example of like just random stuff, right? Like you gotta put things in there. Cause like if I don't have this grand piano in here, then like the space looks super empty. Like I need something.
Yeah. It's the more space you have, the more stuff you have.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, it's just the world's shifting right now, I think, because the higher interest rates, right? Inflation. The report came out the other day, wasn't good.
Well, it wasn't good, but like it really didn't change much. It was just moved
No.
up by 1/10%, you
Right.
know?
Right. Which, if you go back to the 7-8% that it was going
Mhm.
up, and then I think it came back at 3-8 this time. So this is a big
Yeah.
jump over 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Like if you compound it like that, but they need to raise the Fed's fund rate personally even higher to really get it down. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like being able to get money in the bank now, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice if you have some money in savings or money market.
Yeah.
And there's the other side to higher interest rates too, right?
Right.
I mean, I think most of us know what's going on in the world,
Right.
right? Like wars and all this stuff. We're probably closer to World War III now than ever,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
and higher interest rates hurt certain countries because the less that people can afford to buy, the less that some of those countries can produce and make.
Right. Yeah.
So, which, if you get ready for war, the last thing you want is your enemy to have a lot of money.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, I think that, I don't follow like geopolitics like that as probably as closely as some of you as some people, right? But I don't know, like, do you think that we would actually like be like fighting, or would it be more of like, just kind of like rallying up and showing our chest a little bit?
If something were to happen,
Yeah.
nukes probably.
Yeah. Well, you are a
Yeah.
doomsday kind of guy, though.
Well, I'm not like I prepare for the worst, but it's just not good. Some
Yeah.
of the stuff happen. I mean, it's whatever. It all plays into a role.
Yeah.
So
Well, my whole thought has always been, and again, I could be totally wrong about this. My whole thought is like, even like, let's say, Kim Jong Un, right? Like,
yeah,
objectively, everyone paints him out to be super crazy, right? Like, even he's not gonna do anything like sending nukes out and all that stuff, because he knows if that happens, like everyone's gonna die,
right.
right? Like, as soon as one country starts sending nukes, everyone's gonna send nukes, and then everyone's gonna die. So
Exactly.
why even start?
I know. Yeah, it takes one crazy person though, right?
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Uh, but my point is like in the event like a war were to break out, having higher interest rates is a benefit
Oh
because it
yeah,
hurts
absolutely.
certain economies.
No, definitely.
So there's like one benefit of it being higher, but
Yeah, no, for
it
sure.
really to because like on back going back to the commercial side, I know we got off of that,
Yeah.
but like from my understanding, I could be wrong, but all the reading I've been doing is the Fed's the only one that can back the commercial lending.
Really.
And so, because like mortgages, right? You got Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae.
Right.
They're still under conservatorship or whatever.
Right.
I can't wait. I'm gonna tell you what, man. That's gonna be an investment. You should buy up some of this like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac stock
Yeah.
because eventually the government's gonna have to release their reins, right?
Do you think? I mean, they still haven't, and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have been more than like cash cows for the government.
Oh, it's insane, but they have to. I was reading something like it can't last over. I mean, they can change
Sure.
the law
Yeah.
at
Oh,
any
of
given time.
course. Yeah.
I know under Trump he was talking about releasing them, um, but I'll tell you what, man. I get some extra bucks. I'm buying some of those shares and I'm
Yeah.
sitting on them, man. 'Cause that could be a huge investment. But so commercial doesn't have that though,
Right.
because they're all portfolio style loans, and then the Fed backs the banks. So that's kind of where that's at.
Right. No, for sure. Well, and like I'm looking up conservatorship.
Yeah.
Um, so independent community of what is this? Independent is this the independent community of mortgage bankers or something? So it's a road to conservatorship and return of profitability. 15 years is enough. That's where they're at now. Is they're saying like, hey, after 15 years, like you need to let them go.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, because was it
15.
2009 they took them or 8?
Let me see
So we
here.
might be going on 16, yeah. Because I think this is something that it has to 20. Because they take like 90% of the profits of
Oh yeah.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Right
Well, they returned to profitability in late 2012, according to this article here.
right. Right.
And then in 2013, they began to repay their debt to the Treasury. By 2017, the GSEs had completely repaid all the aid they received, plus 10% in 2017.
Right.
Imagine all of the money that they've made from 2017 till now, especially in 2020. Oh, you want to hear something crazy? Which you probably already know about?
What?
So I think it was the end of 2020 or the end of 2021, but Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac came out with a adverse market fee on refinances. Do you remember that?
Yeah, where they started charging additional fees because everybody was refinancing and trying to slow them down.
Exactly. Well, so it was an adverse market fee, which what the heck is that even, right? And also
like a penalty, right?
I think it was like I don't know if it was 50 basis points but it was some kind of an adjustment on the rate for a refi.
Right.
Let's see, adverse.
Yeah, I love things are in the favor of like Main Street and no, you gotta change that.
Yeah, it was 50 basis points of the loan amount charge on for refinances backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac above 125%. So let's look how much volume did Fannie and Freddie close in 2022?
Insane.
$69 billion.
That's
so
it? More than that. Okay.
Oh, hang on. That's multifamily. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think almost every house in this country is backed by them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more portfolio now, but
it should, because I think its average is like $3 trillion in total mortgages that are done. Was the annually like back in the heyday, right, of like the last couple of years,
right?
And normally it's around like 1 to 2 trillion, I think, if I'm correct on that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so let's just assume, right, that this is gonna get a shot, but whatever. Let's just say you're doing like 2 trillion in 2022, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is $2 trillion times 0.005 for 50 basis points. So that's another 10 million in revenue.
Right.
That went, and if the government's taking 90% of that, because and that's just in 1 year.
Right.
After, again, in 2017, they had already paid everything back.
Oh, they're making so much money.
Oh yeah, and that's insane.
Like in 10 million, that's nothing. That's just like kind of the penalty,
Right.
That's not the.
Yeah, that's 50 basis points. That's nothing.
Right.
To these guys.
Yeah, it's insane how much money, It's kind of weird because like when you get into it, it's funny because everybody thinks like, oh wow, I go to my bank, I get a loan, and most banks will keep it, right? They don't sell it off or whatever. They'll service like Wells or Chase or whatever. But it's like at the end of the day, nobody's loaning out their money.
Right. Yeah. No.
It's like it's just a pass through. Like they'll loan out some money temporarily, and then they take that. Hey, Fannie. Hey, Freddie. Here you go. Thank you. Give me my money back.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to send a bill out. I'm going to collect that bill, and I'm going to send you the principal, a little interest.
Yeah.
It's like, golly, man.
Well, that's like how. So this guy that I follow, Barry Habib, does a lot of like mortgage, rate updates and all that stuff.
That's the guy that's failed so far, right? That's the guy. Oh, by August, the
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
5. Like this was like a year ago. I'm like, I told everybody, like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, dude, please, like. Common sense doesn't work. So yeah, all right. So
yeah, so so he has this thing where he talks about how mortgages are actually made, right?
Yeah.
So it all obviously starts with like, a mortgage loan officer like myself collecting the documents and funding a deal, right? Now, the company I work for has warehouse lines, so we lend based off of that. So we're not lending our own money. We're just borrowing it off of a warehouse line. We lend it to you, then we immediately go and sell it to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they pay us, a couple, like a percent or two above what we lent out. As far as like, they'll pay us if we're lending out a $200,000 deal, they'll give us like $210,000. So now, that 10 grand's our spread, right? At that point, that bank then services the loan, makes, collects the payments, does all that stuff. They collect a fee for that, and they sell obviously everything off to Fannie and Freddie to actually secure that loan. Fannie and Freddie then bundle up all the loans into pools, sell them over to Wall Street as bonds. They use that to invest in like 401k, like 401ks and all that stuff, and pensions invest in those, which at the end of the day comes from the consumers, dollars that they use to invest. So it kind of comes full circle because that consumer goes and buys a house. Right. So it's like it's all kind of like this big circle, right?
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It's a circle of getting paid.
Exactly.
Like, Wall Street's really good at figuring that stuff out, man.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's that guy predicted now? Because so far everything I know that he's predicted's been wrong.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, right? From what I don't watch the updates every single day.
Okay.
But I know that up until this whole like last year, everything he said has like been spot on, right?
Right.
So, and I don't know, I can't recall if he's ever like directly said, hey, this is what interest rates are going to be at this point. Right. I think he's saying like, hey, here's what we assume and what we hope things would come through, right? But now I think that, what they're saying is, and again, it's so hard, I feel like, to make an accurate prediction now because there's, the Fed is like trying to keep everyone, calm and say, okay, like we're thinking about lowering interest rates, in these Fed meetings or whatever, right? And then I know we talked about this too, that a lot of it's also speculation,
There's a lot of speculation.
So
it's like I'll listen to Jerome Powell talk, and all of a sudden, like somebody takes like two words. Oh my gosh, they're cutting 15 times. Like
right. And so I think a lot of it is speculation, but also like okay, at some point they do have to relax on interest rates and everything else, and we were thinking there was speculation there was going to be cuts in March, and then there was speculation that going to be cuts in May, and like neither of those are happening. Obviously, March didn't happen. I don't think May is happening either at this point.
No. Well, and they're estimating homes to go up about 5% this year. So I was reading an article today, and the thing is, it's all supply and demand, and a big part of inflation is shelter. Which shelter is homes.
Yep.
So like I was talking about this with somebody else. Another thing, like one thing new construction's good at doing, right? Like, they hate agents when the market's doing great.
Yep.
They love agents when it's like, whoa, things are tight.
Yep.
So pretty much my whole career here in Northwest Indiana, for the most part, any builder that's building like a subdivision, like the bigger builders, that whatever, they'll have like one or two homes at any given time on the market in that neighborhood. And they'll use that agent to help draw people to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have their sales reps sell homes that aren't currently up.
Right.
So do pre-solds. So they'll use one or two homes to get a bunch of pre-solds.
Mm-hmm.
Now they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They put every home on the market.
Right.
It's done and ready. So, like if you take a subdivision of 170 homes in one community, in new construction always kind of sets the bar, right, for the value in the community, because like new construction constantly goes up.
Mm-hmm.
But like, say that house that's going for 400 today, they cut it down to 200 tomorrow. Well, that's going to affect every existing home,
absolutely,
right? Like it's going to just tear apart the values. So my point is though, is it's actually messing up the shelter inflation. Because when you have like in all of Northwest Indiana, right, the average sale, I just looked it up the other day for my blog thing. 282,000 was the average. It was up about 6.2% last year.
Yeah.
So is the increase, and that was the average sale price of a home. But then you take new construction, where the average is probably closer to 4,
right,
for a single family,
right.
And now you have 150 of these popping up in the MLS, which is track data versus 2.
Right.
So it's going to keep increasing the shelter value,
Right.
which is like 33% or
Oh, yeah.
35% of the inflation. So inflation's not going away.
Right.
At least not with the shelter side.
Well, and that's kind of what, and I do remember that. That's what Barry, and them are talking about MBS Highway a lot about inflation, is that like, hey, shelter is making up a ton of this. And, to your point, I don't think they've brought up that point of it, which is actually a really good one that you have.
Oh, dude, it's huge.
Where if you're looking at home sales or homes that are on the market, that's obviously going to skew. If you pulled new construction out, again, the average home in our area would probably still be around like the 250 to 275 range.
Right.
It's all the new construction that's bringing up the the values and the costs of things.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I don't, it's smart on the builder's part. I don't love that they do that, but if you're instead of doing pre-solds and you're just selling everything on the market, you don't have to deal with, oh, they put the wrong, colors in the house, or they put the wrong flooring on it, or whatever, right? It's less personalized,
Right.
but people don't care about that as much as they, or people probably still do care, but they just need a house at this point. They're like, okay, I'll just buy whatever,
Right. Well, and a lot of the builders quit building for people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know one large builder, they're more a regional builder, like Northwest Indiana, a little bit in Illinois now, Indianapolis. But I remember selling homes where like people signed contracts. I think in let me think about this. So code was going on. So they signed contracts in very early 2020 before the shutdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the time their house was ready and done to move in, because I think I had like the first 4 or 5 buyers in the subdivision in Chesterton here.
Yeah.
And it was funny because every single one of them at closing, I was like, so you sure you want to move in? Because we can sell this for $80,000 more right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what my agent said about my place too.
I mean, they lost like, you don't want to laugh about it, but they lost so much money because lumber went from like I can tell what I know. When I built my house,
mm-hmm.
for a pre-cut 104 and 5/8 stud for 9-foot floor ceilings, I paid $2.87.
Jeez.
I was going to start building in 2020. By February of 21, I was pricing out. Now, to price out, instead of calling the lumber yards and bugging them, I would just jump online to like Menards, Home Depot, whatever. The same pre-cut stud was $16.18.
Oh my God.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, because I was ready to build a spec. I'm like, man, I'll run out of money building a wall, let alone the house.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was like my builder. They called me and they're like, hey, lumber, like you signed the contract and everything, so we can't change it on you, but like lumber just went up. And I was like, my mind was like, that sounds like a you problem. Like that's not like, I don't know what that has to do. That sucks for you, brother. I hate that for you, but I'm already locked in. Dude, the lumber price alone on my home went up $30,000.
Oh yeah. It's so a lot of them got burned, and they were like, yeah, we're not building for anybody anymore. We're gonna build the spec, and either you buy the spec or you don't buy the spec. Which makes sense. That way they can price it. So
and I get it too, because like I was pretty chill at least from my point of view. Like when I was building the home, I didn't bug the builder that much. Obviously, there's some things that didn't get installed the right way. So I'm like, which happens on every new construction build, by the way.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, like you installed the wrong floor in the shower. Like just, like that's why we have walkthroughs. That's why we do electrical inspections and things like that. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, but I've heard stories from that builder about all of the people that weren't chill and were very like emotional about the process and got like in their own way a lot. Right. And I think builders just kind of got over that. And they're like, hey, we don't want to have to deal with anybody like this at all. So we're going to put this shit together and then you're either going to buy it or you're not, and that's cool either way, because if you don't buy it, the next person's going to buy it.
Exactly.
So yeah,
it's easier when you're just calling all the shots. You're doing this, that, no changes.
Yeah.
Oh, can I make the closet bigger? Oh, can we move this 12 foot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
So,
No, I would say like the biggest thing that I think the biggest upgrade that I did, well, I extended the kitchen back because there's a spot that it was like a workbench that goes all the way back from the garage.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't need a workbench. Like I work in an office and like I do loans. Like I'm not working on cars or anything like that. Like just move the kitchen back, get some more space.
Right.
And then instead of a 12 or instead of a yeah, it was a 12 by 12 deck that comes standard on that. I got a 24 by 12 deck because I'm like, I want a bigger deck, like have a fire pit there, do all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
you gotta have entertainment space.
oh yeah,
You know, not like a table done.
exactly.
Get like the little section or something. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. My next house is funny. I told the wife must have an outdoor covered living room.
oh yeah.
You know, where maybe the house is built over whatever.
Yeah.
You know, little fireplace out there, chilling, nice night. You know, watching
Oh yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, I could see that in your life for sure. Get a TV there, get the big fireplace that like it goes from like all the way up, you know.
right.
And yeah, you can mount a TV there. Would be great.
What's crazy is it's a big thing, like down in Indianapolis.
Really?
Like I'll look at a lot of these homes in Carmel. Like I got friends that live down there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't we have that here? It's you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like you can get like 8 months of use out of it.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, man.
I was gonna say I'm gonna pull up my buddy Dan, who I work with. He's got one of those. He lives in Oak Brook. I think it's a big thing in Illinois too.
Okay. Yeah.
Like the outdoor patios and whatnot.
Yeah, I just love it, man. Like covered, you know, nice little fireplace or big fireplace, whatever. You know, watching the ball game, hanging out. So
I guess yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at his photos, but I guess like not all of his
okay.
stuff goes to the photos. But anywho's, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like it's
Yeah. It's nice.
It is nice. What do you think about like? I feel like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there's enough to mention, are moving from our area to Indy, or like from Chicago to Indy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are moving to Indiana.
Right.
You know, like I mean, if you're leaving kind of that Chicago market, a lot of people are either going just north to Wisconsin or over to us, you know, here in Indiana. Indy's a growing city. It's a nice town, man. Like I went to school there. I lived there for a few years. Went to IUPUI. I just found out Purdue's pulling out of it, so it's going to be like
Really?
Yeah, somebody was telling me it's not going to be IUPUI. It's going to be IU Indianapolis or something.
Okay. You said Purdue's pulling out of
IUPUI.
Okay.
Yeah, the campus downtown.
Gotcha.
Combined campus.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I guess they're pulling out. I don't know. Me and some of my buddies that were roommates were talking about it the other day, and yeah, Indy was cool, man. It's like a city.
Yeah,
but it was like a town. Like you get around it so easy.
Oh yeah.
Compared to like Chicago. Chicago's horrible.
Right. Well, Indy's not even that big though, too. Like
No.
especially compared to any other major city, you know.
Yeah, it's like half hour. Like at one point, I moved to the south side. I was on the north side. And it's like, you know, I was that guy, right? Like every Thursday at 2:00, I had a haircut.
Yeah.
And so what was it? Or yeah, every other Thursday. And it would take me 15 minutes from campus to get to the north side for a haircut. From the south side, it'd take me half hour.
Yeah.
You know, it's like not bad.
Yeah, I think the metro area is bigger, right? Like it bleeds into like Carmel and you know, what's the like really big place out there?
Carmel's big, Noblesville, Zion.
Yeah, Noblesville, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it branches out to those areas, kind of like how that would be comparable to like an Oak Brook to Chicago kind of thing.
Right.
Even though Oak Brook's not like really part of Chicago,
Right.
you know, it's still like the surrounding areas or whatnot.
Right.
And I think that's really where Indy has is like it's just more. It's not just one place. It's spread out a lot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I always thought of it as like inside of the circle.
Mhm.
Everything in the circle is basically Indianapolis. very little goes outside of. I think it's 465 that wraps around Indy.
Yeah.
Very little of Indy goes outside of the circle. Was how I was thinking of it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun down there. So I could see people moving there. You know,
my buddy, if my buddy ever like wanted to live near a city, he would move to Fishers. So because that's like they got a Top Golf there, they got everything out in Fishers.
Okay, never been to Top Golf. I need to go,
dude. What?
I need to go.
We're gonna go.
I wish there was one like right down the road.
You know where? So Ringo's.
Yeah.
The golf place.
Yeah.
They obviously it's closed down now, but I was always telling my friends, I'm like, dude, if you could buy, there's like a church next to it, I think. Mm-hmm. So you buy Ringo's and that church, you could easily build a Top Golf there.
Right.
And that would be perfect.
So I was looking at it. It's pretty expensive to build one.
Oh yeah.
Somebody was like, we should bring one to Northwest Indiana, and you need like millions.
Oh yeah.
To start. Because I was looking at it, and they even have like what size space you need, how many acres, and it was a few years back. I was like, man, we might need like 5 or 6 guys to do this.
So total investment is $15 to $50 million.
Yeah.
For a franchise.
Right.
And you must have the average initial investment of $18 million.
Yeah.
What's the and the profit margin on Top Golf is 2.17%.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's not that much.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's not much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot if you're bringing in, you know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you think like if you go to, you haven't been to Top Golf, right?
No.
Okay.
We were supposed to go to Nashville, but everybody was still drunk from the night before the bachelor party, you know, so that got canceled.
So on average, the Top Golf in Fishers offers 102 bays on 3 levels.
That's awesome.
And typically, like you're paying, I think it's like, let's just say it's like $50 for every 30 minutes or so at the bay. Right. And like during peak hours, right? So like anytime during the weekend, and then pretty much anytime after 5 o'clock, you're really gonna have a hard time finding a bay unless it's like Monday through Wednesday, you know, like after 5. And even like during the day, like you could probably find a bay, I'm sure. But yeah, like it's booked up entirely. So, I mean, I'm assuming that you're still pulling in some mad cash, even at 2.17%, but right. That profit margin is disgustingly low.
It is, but whatever. You know, hey, all I know is all these investors out there, tons of businesses are coming to Northwest Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
Please bring a Top Golf.
Hey, Al Perez, bring a Top Golf out here. Yeah, you got the cash. Come on.
Come on, Al.
He's building a home right now. He posted on Facebook.
I know. I saw that.
I'm like, hey, just buy a Top Golf, you know?
Right. See, like I don't even know if I don't want a big house.
Yeah.
Some people do.
I keep going back and forth, right? Like I was talking to my girlfriend and we were driving from my house to Costco, and on what road is that? It's is it Colorado that goes right by Sam's Club?
I think it is, yeah.
So if you were on that, like from 109th going on Colorado towards 30, right? There's that like right after the light, right when you turn, there's like that. It's not a new subdivision, but it's newer on the one side, and then there's this big custom home going in on the left side. Mm-hmm. So I pointed out this home, and I was like, "That's a nice house. Like it's a big home. It's got a walkout basement. It's got a big deck on the top. Right. All this stuff." And I was like, "That's the kind of home that I would like always say that I want to live in." But being in my home now, that's like half the size of that. I'm like, even if like I had kids and a wife, right. Like that's still a lot of space,
It is.
So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of being minimalist.
Right. Same. Well, I mean, you got this big house, you can't use it all at the same time.
Right.
And then like we have a lower level family room, our living room, and an upstairs game room.
Yeah.
Right. And the game room is big. The girls are always with us.
Right.
Like now they're getting older, so they'll maybe hang out downstairs while my wife and I are on the main floor or whatever.
Sure.
But it's like we could get away with way less than what we had, you know, and then use that money for investing or traveling or doing
Right.
something, you know, but whatever.
Well, like, so the perfect setup in my head, and again, like the perfect setup for me changes almost daily,
Yeah.
right? But I was like, the perfect setup would be because I'm trying to convince her to move to Florida. I got cousins out there. And I was like, I
Okay.
could do the loan business from over there too, right? It's a pipe dream. I haven't made any plans yet on that. But I was like, imagine this. I went and I was there years ago. And when I stayed there, I stayed in an Airbnb and it was really somebody's garage. They just turned into an ADU.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we could get like, I was like, we get a nice, like a nice ranch in Sarasota for like 400,000 or 500,000, right? And then we turn the the garage into an ADU. I was like, we could probably pull in like $2,000 a month during like between October and May, or in like let's say April.
Mhm.
Probably pull in $2,000 a month just from snowbirds coming out here and just renting that space,
Right.
And then we'll probably still get some people in the summer because there's still stuff going on. I'm like, that's kind of
Airbnb, VRBO, whatever.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, that might be the way we do it.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, that's a good idea.
That could pay
Yeah.
for a little bit over half the mortgage, and then
Right.
you're good to go, right?
Yeah, that would be good. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Down there, it would make sense to do that too. I got a buddy. He just added on to his house in Gulf Shores. Does the Airbnb and kills it out there.
Yeah.
Me locally, I'm like, man, I don't want to work that hard.
Yeah, I know for sure.
Up here,
yeah.
But
well, I mean, I think it's a good it's situational, right? Like if you're in Florida, obviously, you have more
Right.
people that are traveling out there, and like that makes sense to do.
It does, yeah. No, that would make a lot of sense, especially if you're close to like certain things, Disney, whatever.
Yeah.
Or just the beach.
Exactly. Yeah, just the beach, nice weather, good communities,
Right.
all that stuff too.
Yeah, my buddy. Some people love Florida, man. I don't know if I can do it, dude. It's humid. Like one of my buddies moved down there. He says I asked him, "What's the thing you hate the most?" He said the people drive so slow.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's my biggest issue. Oh, for sure.
Like I don't know if I can do it. That like. I mean, I guess if they're doing the speed limit, it's fine. But if you're going under the speed limit, dude, like
yeah. Considering, well, it's all old people, right?
Right.
And all old people do is drive slow because they have no place to be, right?
Right. Yeah. Nothing to do.
Exactly. And so, like I almost had 3 different I was like lost by cool 3 different times yesterday because I was running like 5 minutes late to the office.
Yeah.
And I got stuck by 3 different people at 3 different times that were all driving like 2 miles under the speed limit.
See, I'd lose
it.
I can't do that.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm normally like a 5 to 10 over kind of guy.
Exactly.
So, because I got places to be, Exactly.
So. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, that's normal.
Exactly. And that's a minimum 5 to 10 over. Right. If you give me on 30, or on 65,
yeah,
we're off limits there. But yeah, no. So yeah, that would annoy me more than anything else.
Yeah.
I would have to work from home most days.
Right. No, for sure. Because I don't know. I can't even deal with it locally, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're in a rush, you always get stuck behind the people going like 500 or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So it must be nice having their life.
Yeah, it must be nice being retired and being able to play pickleball. And you bought your house for 2 acorns back in 1973.
Right. Oh man, what about first-time homebuyers right now? How do you feel about that? Like it's tough, man.
Dude, it's so tough. But I'm telling them all, like, if you can make it happen, make it happen. Because
if you like the house, just do it.
Exactly. Well, because to your point, like we're talking about inflation with shelter costs and new construction, everything else. The only way that you get more inventory is with new construction, and it's so expensive to build a home right now. And even if the costs come down, they're not dropping the prices.
No. Well, that's why we need smaller homes,
right?
Lots.
Because they're not dropping the prices for 2 reasons. One, they can charge that. We've seen it now. And 2, like if they drop the prices, it's going to screw over everyone else that just bought a home, right? So they're not going to do that either.
No.
And so I feel like personally, like behind the scenes, what the Fed's doing is really trying to stifle people that are buying homes and stifle the price of homes as best they can with these high interest rates to allow builders time to get more inventory out there. That's kind of my thought on it. I don't know if if that's really what's going on, but I feel like it could be. And also to the only way you get more inventory outside of that is boomers dying off. And with modern medicine, with all these other things, people are staying alive for a lot longer. That's why we have all these issues with Social Security too, because people are staying alive a lot longer.
Oh, people stay alive a lot longer and people have less kids.
Right. Yeah.
So this is gonna sound bad, but like Social Security, right? Like we're working right now and we're paying Social Security not for ourselves, but for the people that already did their time.
Right.
Right. So if you don't have if you don't create babies,
right,
you're not creating future taxpayers.
Exactly.
And if you're not that's when Social Security crumbles.
Which I feel like in that argument, I do feel like you can easily replace the unborn children essentially with immigrants. With immigration.
Well, that's why you have to have immigration.
Right. Because the more immigration you have, obviously, then now you have new taxpayers. That's why I feel like that's why they're pushing a lot of the, ITINs and and work visas and all that stuff, right? And with DACA, keeping people here and everything else too. They want the taxpayer, they want those people working and paying taxes.
You gotta have it the way the country's set up.
Right. No, absolutely.
If you don't, that's when it starts going broke.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No. So I think that with that, right, keeping home values low or keeping home values where they're at as best they can, because if rates drop to 5% tomorrow, home values are shooting up by another 10-15%.
It's like what I told everybody, so check this out. Okay, so we know how the market is here.
Right.
I have a client that's coming in tomorrow. We're going to go see 14 or 15 homes, something like that. We have to get him a house, right?
Right.
So not Thursday, like yesterday. Not last Thursday, Thursday before that, they put their house on the market.
Right.
Okay. This is in Wisconsin.
Okay.
I want to say they put the house up for $375 or $385 at noon. He calls me Friday morning. Okay. Hey, Brent, we're going to be accepting an offer on the house. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. He's like, bro, 5 offers. The offer we're accepting came in at $420,000.
Holy crap.
They're paying our closing costs. They're paying our tax proration. Jeez. They waived their home inspection. And they're giving us a $10,000 appraisal gap waiver. That's our market in 2020.
Yeah.
In 2021, where you had to sell your soul to get a home.
Right.
I didn't realize it was still happening in certain parts of the country.
Where at in Wisconsin were they?
Outside of Milwaukee.
Okay.
So just not far over the border.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me.
That's insane.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
Imagine and that's at the current rates that we have now.
Right.
Imagine if it was 5. They can't go down.
Right. No, they can't. And I keep telling people, if obviously, if rates go down, you and I are going to make a ton of money off of it just because people are going to be buying homes a lot faster. People are going to be refinancing. People are going to be, selling their homes because they can cash out again, all that stuff. Right. But it's not what's best for the consumer, in my opinion, that rates go down right now.
No.
And that's when I tell you, it's people, I don't, it's always weird that oh yeah, you're gonna make more money off of paying a higher interest rate. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
Right. Well, imagine if it went to 5.
Right.
Right. That's not low enough with everything else going up in the world. That's not low enough to get the guy at 3%. I don't think to sell his house and go buy another home.
Right.
Because, dude, we're back in the cycle that started in the 40s.
Right.
I don't know. This rabbit hole I went down, and I'm gonna save it because it can go on forever.
Sure, yeah.
But they all talk about inflation in the 80s. They need to go back because the inflation that 40s is really what we're seeing. We're not seeing the numbers because they hit 19.9% at one
Sure.
point there, but because that's like when what was it, FHA was created. That's when the 30-year mortgage was created, kind of coming out of World War II, right?
Yeah.
All these homes were created. The economy was booming.
Yeah,
we
the New
started
Deal.
dealing with inflation. The Fed's fund rate hit the lowest ever in U.S. history at that point at 1.71% average for the year. And then it started going up and they started playing the inflation game. And I truly believe we're back at that period of time. And so from the 40s until really about 81, everybody's next home got more expensive. So people stayed put.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just move. They didn't just sell their home. In that same period of time, the only wage that you can track is minimum wage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minimum wage grew 767%.
Mm-hmm.
From 81 to 21, when I did this, redid it, minimum wage nationally grew 115%.
Mm-hmm.
But homes grew 400%
Right.
on average. So on value.
Right.
So it's like, I almost think that part of it is like, hey, let's create inflation. You remember, did we ever talk about the check? Like, you remember a few years ago you got the check from the state of Indiana?
Oh, yeah.
The refund the sales tax.
Right.
You only got that because of inflation.
Yeah.
If inflation was around, you would have never gotten sales tax refund.
Really?
Well, think about it. Common sense, right?
Right.
If something's $1, all of a sudden it's $2. Well, we have a 7% sales tax. So instead of 7 cents, they're getting 14 cents.
Right.
So with inflation, the government's making more money.
Right.
So it's one way to try. Here's where it's like, I almost think their goal is to try to get money out of Wall Street's hands and get it into Main Street's hands. But Wall Street's not going to let go of that grip.
Right.
And it's like, because the more money that people have, the government doesn't make money when, you've got companies like Apple sitting with $100 billion in the bank doing nothing.
Right.
But the government makes money when that money's on the ground in circulation.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
And so it's like they make more money on tax revenues off of individuals than probably corporations do too, because corporations are constantly finding loopholes and this and that, whatever they can.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I almost think this whole thing from the beginning was to say, okay, for the last 40 years, we've had to keep lowering interest rates to make life affordable for the average American.
Right.
So now you guys had your fun, Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
You made tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are making millions and millions of dollars a year when we never did that before.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to reverse this role.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's almost like that, because like history always repeats itself.
Right.
It might not be the same trigger, but I always say like history is by far one of the best teachers you can ever, like, if you just look at it, because it will happen again.
Right.
Greed is one thing. It will happen. And I think we're there, man. I truly think like we're at the late 40s right now.
Yeah.
Similar kind of markets. Because like coming out of World War II, right? Think of it like this, or the Great Depression, the Great Recession, World War II, pandemic, same kind of kickstart.
Yeah.
Shut down the world, like everything's this, supply chain issues, like back then, like what Ford was making, I think ammo and something else for tanks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't making cars. It's kind of the same concept,
right? Yeah, I mean, I could easily see that too, and I think that, like you said, there has to be some kind of major event, right? I don't know necessarily like my question is like, who actually is even getting paid minimum wage right now?
Nobody.
Because like literally McDonald's is paying $12 an hour,
That's my point.
Here,
though.
like
3 years ago, they weren't.
Right. Yeah.
So
even though minimum wage is still $7.25 or whatever it is, like nobody, honestly, I don't know anyone that's paying $7.25, right?
No. Well, they couldn't.
Right.
Because people weren't going to go back to work for it.
Yeah, exactly.
People were like, dude, we're tired of making nothing. You got to pay us.
Yeah. And so where does it all end though? Because the more that you pay, now the more expensive everything else is going to be. Like McDonald's now, it's like
it's a mess.
$12, for me to go there for
the
lunch.
Margins. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Because the companies aren't going to give up their margins,
Well, but what's crazy is the margins of today aren't the margins that they had in like the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s.
Yeah. We talked about this too, yeah.
Everybody's always trying to just make more. That's why we're in a hot mess right now.
Yeah. No, exactly.
It's a hot mess, dude. And that if they lower rates, inflation's going to get out of control. I'm kind of curious what happens with the election.
Yeah.
I mean, I already see inflation staying an issue in either direction.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun, man.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah. Either way, though, like I don't. We keep getting off like a topic or whatever.
Yeah.
But I still look at it like if you're a home buyer, if you can find a house that you like and you're very happy with the home and you don't own a home, you need to buy the house.
Right. Yep.
Like what's like Warren Buffett always says, the best instrument is a 30-year mortgage because it's a one-sided relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So like you buy a home today, what's the worst that can happen? The interest rates go up and your payment stays the same.
Right.
Or the interest rates go down and you personally have the right to then refinance your home if you choose to. It's a one-sided relationship. The bank doesn't have a say.
Yep.
So that's why it's like if you can find that house right now, you need to find it.
Right. Yeah.
You need to get it because it's not going to get better.
Yeah. No, exactly. And like for sure. I totally agree with you. So I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
But
same.
Brent, I appreciate you coming on here.
No,
and we're going to keep doing this. It's going to be a regular thing every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
We're going to have to get some topics if anybody wants to throw something out there, so it's not always the same exact thing or whatever. Yeah,
what I also am going to do too is probably there's a voicemail service you can get like just with Google Voice, have people call in and leave a voicemail.
Okay.
So I think we're going to start doing that. Have people call in and leave voicemails and ask questions.
Okay.
So
that'd be awesome.
I like that.
I like that. That'd be good. Cool. Yeah, especially questions. Kind of like some of those guys do that stuff live too.
Oh yeah.
I'm good on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
So
awesome. Cool. Well, signing off, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.